All right, let's get into ETH ETFs today. And we wanted to dive in a little bit deeper. So we thought, hey, let's get one of the asset managers on the show to talk a little bit more into where Ethereum is going as an ETF, what it might look in terms of markets, and also how this may play out in other asset in the game. I think this is going to be a good one. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back into TechPath. Joining me today is Hany Rashwan, who is the co-founder and CEO over at 21Shares. Great to have you on the show, Hany.
Thanks for having me, Paul.
Okay, so let's just go right into it. First of all, what a day yesterday was. 1 billion into ETH ETFs going like crazy. We've started to see a lot of the inflows rolling in. And I think when you look at the market as it is right now, and you also look at the anticipation, because everybody's like, well, all right, that was day one. What could it be for the rest? I was just looking at a headline right here. Citi predicting 5.4 billion in inflows in the 6 months. I feel like this might be a little bit low, but I wanted to get your opinion after $1 billion day. How does this even correlate?
The question is, how did you feel about this headline 2 days ago, right?
Yeah, exactly, right? That's a good
So
question. Yeah.
I think Bitcoin, the ETF launches that we did earlier this year in January were historic. Some of the largest ETF launches in ETF history based on the inflows. And I feel like there was a confluence of a ton of very positive events that came about to make that happen. It was done at the right time, the right place. It was the right product. People were clamoring for it. And we genuinely did not think that Ethereum had a lot of the same variables. It's the summer. There's a lot more macro risk, both economically and politically, than there was back in January. Things should be muted and stunted quite a bit. And so we've personally felt a little bit blown away with the amount of interest, volume, positive sentiment in what is the end of July, which traditionally in the financial world is not a crazy popular time to launch financial products. And so I do think it speaks to how much people are looking for investment opportunities, how much people care about crypto. And I think that based on yesterday, probably a little bit on the conservative side, but I would have maybe said I can see it happening at this level just 72 hours ago.
Interesting. Okay, well, good. We, of course, are a channel that looks at the technology. We break down a lot of where these investments are going from a standpoint of just, hey, what is the market capacity? What could potentially be there? You know, when you look at total addressable market and the idea of where tech is going. So it wasn't a surprise to me. I felt like actually it could have been maybe a little stronger, even though, but I would agree with you. I think the seasonality of it probably has some bearing overall. Here's James Safer coming in from Bloomberg. First full day, ETH stakes are in, and they took 107 million in. There's BlackRock coming in, of course. Bitwise kind of led the way here, and you look at the overall roster here, including 21Shares there, and the potential here for being able to really get this out there in front of asset managers and just in general, I think investors. For you guys, what is your next step? What are some of the strategies that you guys are looking to do and get into motion to kind of build on this?
Yeah, so to take a step back, 21Shares is the world's largest issuer of crypto ETFs. We're also the first issuer. We first listed the global first physically backed crypto exchange traded product out of Switzerland, out of Zurich back in 2018. And we now have about 50 of these things around the globe, in Australia, in the Middle East, in Europe, where we're number one, and in the US, where based on Bitcoin and Ethereum, we're in third place on an aggregate basis right now.
Right.
And if you look at our products, 50 ETPs covering all these single assets, stakeable assets, thematics, indices. We even have a couple of shorts. You can short Bitcoin or Ethereum using a couple of our ETFs as well. We have some hybrid products with gold and crypto. And I would say that if it's not super obvious with my accent, we are Americans that were pushed to launch this outside of America at the beginning because America wasn't ready for this on a
Right.
regulatory level. And so our ambition is to mirror exactly what we have done outside of the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And so our ambition is to build bridges into the crypto world that involves dozens and dozens of investable crypto assets. We've already started looking at additional assets beyond just Ethereum. And it is our hope that we upgrade these products. Ethereum launched without staking, which we've seen in a few markets before, where regulators sometimes get comfortable launching it first without staking and then allowing us to upgrade it later, as well as launching additional assets and additional strategies. And so
Right.
I would say it's just the beginning, and it does make sense. We've opened several markets globally with Bitcoin followed by Ethereum, usually followed by a gush of new listings and new crypto assets.
So right now, net asset value on CETH, you can kind of see it going there. But back to your point, is that obviously these are very early days with the ETF just launching. But interesting points that you made in terms of the alternative of the products themselves. So the appetite is clearly there from the investor community. And the likelihood is we're going to see a lot more creativeness, I should say, with a lot of the asset managers going into much like what you're talking about. With the US getting into a position to where maybe there's some regulatory alignment that could open this up, how much of an impact would that have on you guys really putting the hammer down in terms of new assets coming on to 21 Shares?
We're going to constantly be pushing. We're going to be pushing until we get to the same parity with our other crypto assets that we've seen around the globe, whether with Solana, Ripple, Polygon, et cetera. We think there's a lot of very, very interesting assets out there that are investable. I think that it takes time, and people need to realize that it took us a couple years to move beyond just Bitcoin and Ethereum the first time we did this. And we have the patience and the experience of going through the same experience. And so America is a new market for us. We are primarily known outside of America, given the kind of company that we have built. But America is absolutely something that has been part of the plan since we started this company 6 or 7 years ago, and we're going to invest a ton in it. We have an office open in New York. It has maybe 40 to 50 people in it, and we're going to continue investing across both our American staff and our American products. I would say Ethereum is just the beginning.
Okay, all right, good to know. When you look at the fees, because this is seems to be a very competitive marketplace right now, and you look at investors coming into Ethereum maybe for the first time, where they could go on to either centralized exchanges or decentralized exchanges and make a trade over there for the core asset, versus going into an ETF and having these lower fees, which is better right now? Have you guys done the math on this for investors? I'm sure you're getting that question all the time.
So I think that it's a very, very, very good question, and we get it a lot. You're right. We have to think about who the investor set is. And let me preface this with saying 21 Shares, me personally, we have no issues whatsoever with people holding crypto physically. And it makes sense for a lot of people to do so. And in order for the Ethereum network to grow in value and importance, people actually need to use the Ethereum network on a native level. And so it's not that we see these things as competitive, it's that we see the ETFs being the most appropriate wrapper for a certain group of people who are very, very important in order for crypto to succeed. Who are these people? A collection. You get retail investors who may not feel technically comfortable enough to set up their own wallets and exchanges. Exchanges sometimes get hacked. You need to really be thinking a lot more about security and be a little bit more savvy on the technical side for you to feel comfortable with that. And so I think, again, it depends on what kind of investors, but certainly there are a lot that benefit from the ETF, ETP wrapper. And it all expands the crypto market, which is incredibly positive for all of us.
I want to go into the topic of Cathie Wood. Obviously, ARK investment stepped away from the spot ETF with you guys. What was the reason, I guess, first? And do you feel like this has a bigger impact on you guys long term? Because I would say ARK's stamp of approval would be a very positive thing for the market. I feel like it would be, but wanted to get your input on it.
So I can't speak directly to the motivations of ARK here. What I can say is that based on their public comments, these products are very early. They're not exactly doing a ton of revenues or profits for the time being. Right. And we're very long-term believers that they will, but at about 21 basis points, which is roughly where the entire industry is, there isn't actually that much revenue or profits for these products over the short term. Mm-hmm. Our relationship with Cathie and with ARK started with a shared love of research. And some people don't know this, but ARK is actually an acronym. It stands for Active Research Knowledge. And Cathie's background as an equity researcher, our love for education, as you've mentioned, and research is what brought us together. A lot of their research has been on Bitcoin. And again, I can't speak to the motivations of why they chose not to pursue this, but at least publicly, the lack of revenues and profits made it seem like this was not perhaps as high a priority item for them, given everything else that they're working on at the firm. From the 21Shares perspective, regardless of what ARK's priorities are, like I said, we're the world's largest issuer of these things. We've been doing it for 6 or 7 years. And while we are perhaps a new name in America, it's a market that we've done exceptionally well in with the Bitcoin ETF, and one that we intend to continue to invest in. And it may take a little bit while longer, again, because it's a new muscle that we are training and we haven't been as active in the market as some of our competitors, but it is absolutely both a market and a product that we intend to continue investing in and bringing additional products to market in as well.
Yeah. Okay. So I think that's a fair enough answer in the sense of it is early in the cycle of how many of these things are going to be going. I understand ARK's position, especially in mainstream, on Wall Street. Obviously, staking is a big topic right now, with Ethereum being one of the biggest, if not the most staked digital asset out there. AETH, of course, is active on your fund. If you think about that and the opportunity of staking ETFs, do you feel like that is a next wave coming in for a lot of these digital assets?
So I don't know about the order, right? Like, I don't know if we list in America an additional crypto asset beyond Ethereum first, or make Ethereum a stakeable ETF first. Right. I don't know how the timing will shake out on that. But what I can tell you is that our ambition is absolutely to create a staking ETF. Our customers want it. I think American investors deserve to have the staking yield. And again, from the vantage point of being very active and having a massively successful products around the world, we've seen this before. There are a few jurisdictions where we've launched stakeable Ethereum ETFs first. Mm-hmm. And there are a couple of jurisdictions where the regulators felt most comfortable first launching Ethereum without staking, mm-hmm. And other assets without staking. And then over time, we've been able to build that in and upgrade the product. And so it's absolutely part of our plans and something that we will continue to lobby for. I don't know when exactly it will happen, but I do think it is a matter of when, not if.
Which is easier to sell right now? Is the Bitcoin ETF easier to sell, or are you finding people asking about the ETH ETF more? What seems to be the hot topic?
That's an interesting question. So I would say that Bitcoin certainly has a bigger brand. I think more people have heard of Bitcoin. A lot of people associate crypto with Bitcoin. It's still a massive amount of the total crypto market cap, and it's the OG. It's what started this whole thing. Um, Ethereum is much more interesting on a fundamentals level.
Mm-hmm.
And while Bitcoin is this interesting digital gold equivalent, which is insurance against bad fiscal and monetary policy, which is very relevant across the world. And I would argue it's relevant in America as well, but in a
Sure.
different way. Americans love investing in gold, and our fiscal and monetary situation is not quite as dire as it is
Mm-hmm.
in other parts of the world, and that still makes sense. Ethereum is actually using the blockchain. Ethereum is actually moving money, building smart contract applications. Ethereum makes revenues as a network from running smart contracts. And so when people think about the promise of crypto, when people think about building a new internet for anything that requires trust, which includes the financial world, but includes a lot of other applications as well, they think of smart contracts platforms. Ethereum is the single largest one. And this kind of application and others like it will be run on smart contract platforms like Solana, like Ethereum, like all the others. And it's a fundamentally different kind of thesis, still tied to crypto, still tied to blockchain. But we typically see people either invest in Bitcoin for a gold bug, fiscal insurance, monetary
Mm-hmm.
policy insurance kind of reason, or Ethereum for the pure technological innovation and disruption aspect of it. Although, obviously, given crypto, we sometimes see people invest in both. But I do think it attracts at least a different thesis for each asset.
Yeah, well, you look at this in comparison of the S&P. I mean, people would look at something like an NVIDIA as the Ethereum of what we're seeing over here, most innovation versus core stocks within the S&P away from the Mag 7. Then, yeah, I could see that being the case. Very hot right now, even though we've seen a retracement on that on the Mag 7. I think maybe we're going to start to see a little bit of a renaissance here on digital assets moving forward. I was looking at a tweet you guys had. Solana caught up with Ethereum in almost every metric. Users fees, trading volume. There's close 10 billion worth of Bitcoin on Ethereum and only 86 mil on Solana. So why is there such huge discrepancy? What is needed to close the gap? So this was a big stream that you guys did. Explain to me a little bit more about Solana and the potential here for an ETF. Is this one that you feel like could come faster, or do you feel like Ethereum's going to be kind of the play over the next little bit here before we see something? Many people are predicting 2025.
It's public news, so it's very clear that we've already published a listing application for
Mm-hmm.
Solana, and so it betrays how bullish we are and how we think about that asset. We also have listed the world's first Solana ETP and the world's largest. We have about $1 billion in our European Solana products, and so we're very, very familiar with the Solana ecosystem, and again, quite bullish and early supporters of it. I can't speak to when these things get approved, but I do believe that with respect to Solana, it's partially the same thesis as Ethereum. If you believe that blockchain-based applications and crypto in general is going to get this renaissance as you've described it, then it's quite conceivable that 5 years or 10 years from now, the smart contract platforms may likely eclipse Bitcoin in value. Because again, Bitcoin has a ceiling that is maybe synonymous with gold. If gold is worth about $8 trillion, you
Sure.
mentioned the Magnificent Seven, they're probably worth a little bit more than that.
Yeah,
Technology in
exactly.
general is
Yeah.
more expensive than that. And so I think Solana, Ethereum, smart contract platforms in general have a very, very bright future. We're a core part of it, and we will continue to push that. And we're loving a lot of the innovation that we're seeing on the Solana ecosystem. It's a bit of an upstart, but it does a lot of things much better. And a lot of those things happen to be areas of criticism for Ethereum.
That being the case, if you look at just XRP, not a security, been deemed that, why would we not see maybe, because there's no futures needed there, why not see an XRP maybe go to market much faster here? I'm just thinking about what could be on the move here over the next 12 months. What are your thoughts on that?
So just given our position, Paul, we listed the world's first and have the world's largest Ripple ETP.
Yeah.
We're bullish on XRP as an asset. We've published a lot of a lot of research about it, and we've been comforted by a lot of the court decisions that have come up on it not being a security. I would say that it's absolutely part of our product vision and ambition globally, not just in America. Okay. And part of our thinking was Ethereum being approved, Solana is actually pretty similar in a lot of ways, right? And so sometimes it could be easier to make the case for something that rhymes with what has already been approved rather than starting from scratch on a new asset. But it doesn't speak to any broader statement or judgment on Ripple or XRP.
Okay, so with all of that, we've got some things happening within the opportunity here outside of traditional digital assets. This is a clip that goes into just in gaming in general, and I wanted to kind of get your opinion because I'm wondering if we're going to see some of that kind of movement into the ETF side of things. Let's go to a clip real quick.
To approve the creation of Olympic esports games. Who is in favor of the creation of Olympic esports games? Please raise your hand. A clear majority, but again, let's go for the ones who do not support the no votes, please. No vote. No, then this appears to be correct. Is there an abstention? No. Thank you very much, my dear friends and colleagues. With your vote, you have created the Olympic esports games. Congratulations and thank you very much.
So esports, one of the biggest things out there. We're going to, especially in gaming, large growth, crypto community, very attached to that. Most likely we're going to see tokens pour into that sector. The potential for that, especially as gaming starts to become much more popular, and the major companies that are playing in this, whether it's Sony, Apple, Meta, you name it, we could see an explosion in this area. How will you guys as asset managers start to look at this market going forward?
So I'll give you two answers. One personally and one as the 21Shares hat that I sometimes wear. A lot of the times wear. On a personal basis, I'm a computer nerd that grew up playing a lot of these games, the World of Warcrafts and the RuneScapes and these virtual worlds with virtual currencies. And it's very clear that there's a ton of demand for them. And it's clear that there is a lot of applications for crypto in various ways. On the money part, certainly, but also with respect to identity, with respect to non-fungible tokens, NFTs, with respect to ownership, with thinking about that overall. A lot of this will be built on a smart contract platform. Solana, Ethereum, Polygon, Avalanche, etc., are some of the biggest ones. And so it directly benefits crypto. And I find this stuff very exciting. It's part of tech innovation where we don't really know where this is going. But it could go in a number of different ways. And we probably can't predict where it's going. Because if I made you predict where we would be in 2024 back in 1998, it's very likely that none of us could have predicted where we are now with Amazon or Uber or Airbnb or anything. And so I'm very, very excited by the innovation. And I think there's a clear set of things that I think crypto can help out with that I can see. And I believe that's a minority of the innovation that we are likely to see. So that's very, very exciting.
Yeah.
Now, with my 21Shares hat, it's a wait and see. So we we have a lot of rules internally for what kind of assets we list and when we list them. We've listed some assets that have to do with NFT blockchains and things like that. There's a Flow blockchain that CryptoKitties and I believe NBA Top Shot and others have been built on. Been very excited about those kinds of things, but we list them relatively late in the cycle because we need them to get to a proper level in terms of market cap, volume, sentiment. They need to have weathered some storms and proven to be investable before we feel comfortable putting them in an ETF wrapper and making it retail and institutional accessible. So we've done it quite a bit with some of these gaming platforms that you can see some of these innovations on, but taking it to a whole other level, I think will take a little bit longer. But again, given how excited I am on the innovation, I do think this is yet another example of when, not if.
Well, I think the point here is, these adoption cycles, whether you look at the birth of the internet, mobile, social, that you get real bell curves in there that we start to see very significant onboarding and acceptance. Gaming, of course, one of the largest, if not the largest, most social interaction in technology that is out there on the planet right now. AI could start to garner that kind of level, but right now gaming would pretty much control that. So it'll be interesting to see how this plugs in. But I think you're right. You guys are in the right place at the right time. And the fact that you're, very innovative, forward thinking, and you're open to where the market flow is going, I think that's very key for asset managers like you. So, Hany, it's been great having you on the show. Thank you so much for coming in today. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. This was fun.
You bet. All right, so you guys, make sure if you're not in the Diamond Circle right now, it is our own private group where we do additional content, more education, a lot more analysis of different projects, all sorts of things that we do over there that don't necessarily always make it here on YouTube or within our podcast stream. So make sure and jump into the Diamond Circle. Just click the link down below. And of course, follow me out there on X, @Paul Barron. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.